public speaking. This makes me a little nervous. Can I just read directly from the site?
Absolutely. Do whatever you want to. You're on.
Are you recording?
We are recording.
Okay.
And I can pull up our opening here if you'd like.
I would.
Hold on a second. So what kind of meeting is this, Anna?
Oh, sorry. Hi, this is Anna Bruffy, and it is March 23rd. Let's see, I should practice. We are part of the first Empathy Surplus Congress, and the Empathy Surplus Foundation is a 501c3 charitable collective thought leadership education organization. We fulfill our mission through the small communities of practice called the Empathy Surplus Congresses. Every day we promote a caring society filled with stronger people, progressive markets, better futures, effective government, and mutual responsibilities through our four empathic activities.
I guess I ought to pull those up, shouldn't I? Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
So we inwardly digest and use the latest insights of
Dr. George
Lakoff to frame daily caring conversations to promote human rights.
We invest in our weekly congressional hearings about how we apply Lakoff's insights to advance caring policy directions, implement caring policy directions through partnerships with ethical businesses, effective government task forces, and other caring society organizations. Invite others to join us and promote a politics of care. Would anybody like to share what has happened last week, or if we were able to reach out? Anybody?
I had lots of conversations last week about the human rights pocketbook venture.
Great.
And getting better at recording those conversations on Keela. And I was telling Miriam last night, I attended the Wilmington College advocacy Zoom meeting, and the new president was there. Members of FCNL were there. One of Senator Sherrod Brown's staff persons were there because she's a graduate of Wilmington College. Ellen Short is her name. But it was a good, I mostly listened to their experience. They were talking about their experience of doing advocacy. They were sort of the first liberal arts college to start taking students to Washington, D.C. to do advocacy. And now it's become a thing. And where over a certain period, a certain weekend or week, a couple of weeks in, I forget now when it is, but a little over 500 students from around the country, descend on Washington to do advocacy. So interesting time.
Yeah.
Maribeth, how about you?
I spent time this week reaching out to family members and friends who were affected by the shooting in Georgia. I have several family members who have adopted children, have Asian American children. I have a dear friend in Los Angeles who is Asian, who is Korean. And it started out checking in with Kimberly out in Los Angeles. And I had a good conversation about stereotypes and the stereotypes that I thought were probably good stereotypes. She helped me understand that they weren't good stereotypes at all, because I said, I don't have negative feelings about Asian Americans. I think, you're very smart and you work hard. And she said, do you know how much pressure that puts on me? She said, I was raised by a Tiger mom. And then to have a friend that sees me in that light, it's just more pressure. And I had never thought of it in that vein before. So, educating myself. And so I've made it kind of a thing now. I check in with her every day, and sometimes she needs to talk and she'll say, "Do you have a minute to chat?" And she'll call. And sometimes she needs to yell and scream, and sometimes she needs to cry. She's afraid to step outside her door right now, which is heartbreaking. And then of course I checked in with family members, one in particular, a cousin who has a young girl who's at her first year of college that she adopted from China, and the angst and the anxiety of having this young girl, this 18-year-old, away from home for the first time, and being an Asian American away from home. And how's a mother, a single mother, Rachel's never married, so she's raised Caroline on her own, and how do you navigate that, and how hard it is to have that child out there. So just spending a lot of time reevaluating my stereotypes, and working on myself, and then just checking in and making sure people are doing okay. So
Wonderful.
that's it.
Who would like to go next? Or you can nominate. Anita?
Okay. On the same topic, the picture I posted in Keela for my thing, I am wearing my hijab to show solidarity with my Muslim friends. And because I'm genetically Russian, and Anna is half Russian, but because I'm genetically Russian, I've decided to start calling myself a Russian American in order to get into the conversation. So when people say, well, when did your people come here? I can say, oh, 2 generations ago. And they'll say, well, why do you call yourself Russian American? You're an American. And I can say, why is my husband African American when he's been here 400 years?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they Asian Americans when they've been here longer than my Russian people? So just to try to open that up and to kind of jolt people into it. So, and then I've been spending a lot of time trying to get our Guyanese group up and running, which is coming along just fine. And so I think that we'll be able to take the Pocketbook Venture Project and go and scale up. It's looking real good. So that's me. How about you, Anna? What are you doing?
Last week, I was very busy dyeing yarn and working on my business, but I was able to talk about our little blue book and our Congress and the project in general with the yarn store owner, right? And she was really all for it and really was interested. And I asked her if we could put the little blue book out just as for a demonstration into her shop, but she was very hesitant from where we live in our area. So we figured that not we, but she did make a point that unfortunately not everybody's still receptive to it. So it just means we need to talk more about it and to bigger groups, so to educate people,
And you're in Virginia.
Oh yes, we're in Virginia. And I live in a very large military zone, military areas. We have Air Force, Navy, the SEALs, just all except for the Army, actually. And so it is kind of hard to, unfortunately,
you would think that's human rights would be a
big thing. Yeah. Right. But I think just people are not aware of how good of our foundation is. So spread the love a little bit more. Miriam?
Hey, I listened to some things on YouTube. I forget how I came to this, but I listened to a PhD named Jackson Katz. He's got a great TED Talk on, and that's KATZ. And he has a program that he's been working on about men's violence against women. And he stresses how important it is to frame the discussions about violence against women in terms of men's violence against women. And he, like instead of saying how many pregnancies, teenage pregnancies in your school have happened, or how many girls have become pregnant, and say how many men have caused, pregnancy in teenage girls. So, have that as a statistic instead of always having it through the women. And that changes the whole frame. And he was talking in this way. His TED Talk talks about, how just adding that on the beginning makes a huge difference. And so I really recommend listening to his TED Talk. And, as we've gone through the men's gun violence against women in the attack against the Asian women, and then this latest one yesterday in Boulder, we need to call it men's violence. Have any of these mass shootings been caused by women? No. There are women who engage in murder, but it's for much different reasons, and it's usually more personal. But anyway, it's important to reframe that conversation so that men begin to start to have it reflected to them that they have a part of this. So Greg?
So I have a couple of things to say. So to Anita, I did not know that you were Russian. So Здравствуйте, как дела?
Nostrovia.
Ничего хорошо.
Right.
Okay, now you have to translate.
Now I'm going to have to work on that.
I said hello formally. I could have said привет because I do know Anita, but I said Здравствуйте because that's the formal way. And I wanted to be respectful to her.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to learn that. Thank you.
Dela is how are you? So.
And Anita, you said what? You replied?
Nostrovia. Like a Laheim. Cheers.
Like cheers, I'm okay.
Yeah, right.
And I said Nichiru Horosho, which means I'm doing very well. Very well.
Very nice. Very nice. Whew.
So do you speak it? Where did you learn your Russian?
Not anymore. I kind of lost most of it because I used to work for an organization in Shaker Heights, and the entire organization was Russian. They were looking for an HR person. They didn't have an HR person, so they hired me. And, so the first thing I said was, I don't speak Russian, right? and the woman said, you will learn. And I'm like, okay.
That's the right attitude.
Yeah, so I learned Russian, and through Rosetta Stone and through listening to my interactions with the organization. So
wow.
I had direct reports that were Russian. Everybody was Russian. So I was better at understanding it than speaking it because it's just hard. So like somebody would say something in Russian and I would reply in English because it was just easier for me to do that. So.
Wow. So there's a big Russian community up there, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
So I digressed us a bit, but anyway.
That's nice.
Back to another topic which we have been talking about, the attack in Atlanta on Asian Americans. So what I've done at work is we have an African American Affinity Network group, and we also have an Asian Pacific American Network group. And I reminded the African American group that there is historical precedence on African Americans supporting Asian Americans. Frederick Douglass spoke vehemently against what it was called, I think it was called the Chinese or Asian Exclusion Act or something like that. And in addition to that, there have been many civil rights bills and civil rights leaders that have also included Asian Americans in the equation. So I wanted to remind them of that. And I said we need to reach out to the Asian Pacific Affinity Network, show our support, and ask what we can do to support them in this time, because I think African Americans have a unique perspective on these type of things. So it's not new for us, so we get it, we understand. So
Yeah.
Great. That's great. Chuck, do you want to start with the book next? Oh, we can't hear you.
Have we read the 6.6? It's not very long, did we?
it's not long.
No, I don't think it's very long at all.
Since we're recording, I guess we could read it and let people know what we're discussing.
Would you like to give a brief description of the book? I'm not exactly sure how to present that.
Well, we're reading George's Your Brain's Politics, subtitle How the Science of Mind Explains the Political Divide. And we're reading a section a week, and the sections are really short. And each week they give a another nugget of something that is important in cognitive science and linguistics, that and encourages us to find ways to apply it in our own language and daily life. So
Great.
So I haven't been George in a while. I don't mind being George this time if we're going to read it.
Okay, I can volunteer to do Elizabeth.
Okay. Yeah,
And we are-
the book is, just for the recording's sake, is an interview. Dr. Elizabeth Whaling is interviewing Dr. George Lakoff throughout this book about your brain's politics. So take it away, Elizabeth.
All right, so this is chapter 6.6, values to be mindful of, conservative and progressive worldviews. Public common sense is the U.S. has tilted quite a bit towards the right over the past decade. Give what we discussed just now, there seems to only be one way for progressives to reestablish a conceptual alternative: through progressive moral framing of the issues we face, whether those are abortion, the environment, the economy, welfare, or taxation, to name only a few.
Yes, every political argument ought to start with a moral premise, with an answer to the question, what is morally right or wrong policymaking on this issue? Issue stances are symbolic of the moral stances we hold. They're an outcome of one's moral worldview and therefore must be communicated as such. However, a lot of folks believe that positions are values in and of themselves, and they mistake their positions for their values.
That's true. We ask what their values are politically involved, and people will often answer, my values are environmental protection, public health care, and social equality.
Well, those are not values. Those are merely positions that share a common moral basis. They stem from one and the same moral worldview, which in this case is probably a progressive, nurturant parent worldview with the central values of empathy, nurturance, and individual as well as social responsibility. If you seek political support, then you need to speak about your values as clearly as you can, because your values are what distinguishes you from your political opponent.
Simply put, it does not suffice to just tell people what you will do. You need to tell them why, and you are going to do it. That's it. Why the actions you propose are morally necessary.
And once progressives have become accustomed to discussing issues in terms of their moral worldview on an everyday basis, they'll have a much easier time finding good slogans for day-to-day issues and campaigns. Right now, conservative slogans still tend to be cognitively more powerful. They tend to be really good because conservatives have done the communicative groundwork for decades now.
They have established public moral narratives that tell a very convincing story. And in that story, conservatives are the good guys and progressives are the bad guys.
Oh yes, conservatives have established great overarching moral frames in public discourse. Those frames have turned into deep-seated cognitive templates in people's minds. Now all that's left for conservatives to do is to find slogans that tap into those larger moral templates. There's only one way to reclaim a progressive common sense as an alternative to the conservative common sense that currently sets the tone in many of our debates. Progressives must start speaking about their values more across issues and over long periods of time.
Yet one couldn't hope to turn an ultra conservative into a progressive by discussing the political menu of the day in terms of nurturant values.
Bear in mind that we all understand the strict and nurturant worldview. Some of us use one and the same worldview in all areas of our lives, including politics, but others don't. Up to a third of the electorate in the US is biconceptual. These folks endorse both family models, and they can resort to either when making a political decision. Biconceptuals will be open to seeing matters from either moral worldview. So when political leaders are communicating with that part of the electorate, it's extremely important to speak about one's values.
Even though biconceptuals will not only apply to conflicting moral frames at once, they are somewhat open to using either one.
Yes, they will give priority to the worldview that public debate evokes more strongly in their minds.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have a word or phrase that we would like to share from that chapter? Chuck?
My phrase is, what are human rights conversation successes? Maribeth?
My phrase that stuck out in this was progressives must start speaking about their values more across issues and over long periods of time. Oh,
But Greg? Yeah.
Values are important.
Very good. Anita?
Conservatives have established great overarching moral frames in public discourse. Miriam?
You're muted, Miriam.
Nurturant parent frames.
Good. And then I'm last, and I actually would like to pass.
So
Greg? Did Greg
oh,
go?
Greg, has Greg gone?
Yeah, I've gone.
Okay.
I said values are important.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. So Miriam, are you timekeeping?
I don't have my phone on me.
Here, I'll do it. I'll pull mine up. I got it. So what are human rights conversation successes? What are a successful human rights conversation is one that you initiated and completed. In fact, as we know, just the mention of human rights to someone is a big deal. And the reason it's a big deal is because human rights activates the empathic brain and connect it with politics of care. And as Maribeth and Dr. Lakoff remind us, neurons that fire together, wire together. Moreover, the neurons that are firing together consciously are those connected to the two words human and rights. Furthermore, the neurons that are firing together unconsciously are the two words human rights, put them together, and the unspoken word politics. What are human rights conversation successes? Well, again, a successful human rights conversation is one that you initiated and completed. And all conversations are between witnesses. Moreover, when two persons witness to one another, they converse about how they understand the world in the context of a situation. For example, currently in the USA, Americans are witnessing reports of the Colorado mass murder. Last night, Rachel Maddow interviewed the editor of the student newspaper of the University of Colorado in Boulder. And Rachel asked the young woman who lived across the street from the grocery store crime scene, tell us what you witnessed. And because human rights language is not common sense, we're not hearing the words human rights in any of these witness reports. So what are human rights conversation successes? And finally, a successful human rights conversation is one that you initiated and completed. Moreover, human rights from a conservative worldview are limited, according to Dr. Lakoff's identified conservative moral hierarchy. And so if progressives want a world that respects, protects, and promotes human rights for all, then human rights must be a topic of conversation for caring citizens. In fact, on any of our personal issues, human rights can and does factor in. So if you haven't had a human rights conversation lately, consider reaching out to me about how to use our human rights pocketbook venture to get started. That's it. So Maribeth?
Well, I used it as an opportunity to, I don't think we can share our values unless we know what they are. And so I used it as an opportunity to write down, what are my values? I reflected. So here's what I came up with. I care about my fellow human beings, regardless of their gender, race, religion, or beliefs. I believe all humans have the right to have their needs met. That includes food, shelter, a loving, safe environment in which they can thrive, opportunities to earn a living wage, free and affordable healthcare or affordable healthcare and equal treatment under every law in this country. I care about this planet on which we live. Our environment thrives when we maintain a healthy balance between meeting our needs and preserving our natural resources. I will protect Mother Earth and use the gifts she provides wisely. I care about the welfare of people of color. I want to celebrate the diversity of our country. I want all people of color to be treated with the same dignity and respect given white people. I want people of color to be granted the same economic and educational opportunities given white people. I care about the LGBTQ community. I want people of all sexual orientations to have a safe space in our community. I never want them to feel less than. So I just used it as an opportunity to jot down what my values are and what I would like to see in the world. So
you got another minute or so if you want.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll pass. Let's see, Greg, I think you're next.
Oh, okay. So like you, Maribeth, I took the opportunity to talk about my values. So values. It has been apparent for a long time that framing your values first can set the tone for a political conversation. Everyone has values, and values are different than your position on an issue or issues. Webster's dictionary defines value as something such as a principle or quality intrinsically valuable or desirable. Webster also defines value as relative worth, utility, or importance, which I can agree with, and I believe most, if not all, people would agree with me. That being said, I would like to share 3 values I have and why they're important to me and probably to most people. Trust is something that I value. It is a concept that lays the foundation for all relationships, political or otherwise. Without gaining the trust of others, it is literally impossible to get work done in any effective or meaningful way. Think about how you feel when you trust someone, your facial expressions that you feel when you don't trust someone. Think about the corresponding behaviors that show up when you don't trust someone. Trust is important. Empathy is something that I value. Without empathy, we would not be able to care for those that we call our parents or grandparents or children. Without empathy, we would not donate our resources or time to a cause. Without empathy, we would be incapable of understanding the struggles and challenges of others, and we would not be capable of dismantling all of the inequities created by unempathetic governments and citizens. Empathy is important. Accountability is something that I value. It doesn't mean that I hammer someone every time they do something wrong or make a mistake. That is accountability without empathy. Accountability with empathy means that I simply bring to a person's attention the mistake and help them correct it by offering the tools they need so that they don't make the same mistake again. By removing barriers so that we can move forward so they can move forward in their journey. Provide them with assistance, with knowledge that I have and they may lack. Accountability with empathy creates trust. Accountability is important. Thank you.
Wonderful, Greg. Thank you.
Thanks.
I believe, Anita, you're next. That'd be hard to follow up on.
I know. I don't, it's all triggered coming back in the past, an example of people who would not state what their values are, but demonstrate them through their actions, and then have make statements that are so provincial or parochial or very limited, but you would understand that these are, good, hardworking, decent people. And the example I'll give is like 50 years ago, my friend from high school went on to become a veterinarian. And when she graduated from Ohio State, she rewarded herself by learning how to fly. So she was taking her first cross-country solo from Columbus, and she landed in Kansas in a dust storm. So this farmer comes out with his tractor and he swings it around to protect her, gets her out, takes her up to the house and says, "We'll take care of you and we'll get you up in the air again tomorrow." So, she spends the night there, but at dinner time, so they're this farm family and 3 farm sons with burr haircuts, and everybody's hardworking, and they're having trouble making conversation anyway. So the father says to her, tell me, I've got to know this. Is it true? Is it true that back east boys are wearing their hair long?" And that just blew her away, that was his most pressing concern about the world. And, so I see that a lot still, even with the people that I interact with. that people cannot, they don't distinguish a value from an issue like that. And anyway, so that's it. That's all I've got to say about that.
You got another minute if you want it.
I'm done. Who's next? Miriam?
Yes. So I've been concentrating this month about Women's History Month in my weekly radio sermons on the Quaker Hour. And so I've been trying to lift up the women's history and also the divine feminine in our religion, and the need for the divine feminine to be uplifted and acknowledged. But in this past week, my message was pretty strong in saying we need to equalize and have in balance. I was talking about the first day of spring equinox. It's a day of balance, equal dark and light. And equality is one of our core values in my branch of religion, Quakerism. It's one of our testimonies and has been evident since the very beginning in 1650. So I was bringing that up and the need for recognizing it, and so I talked about the nurturant parent God model with with the father and the mother as one parent. And I called to mind there's a popular book called The Shack, and it was made into a movie. And in that book, God is referred to, portrayed as a large Black woman named Papa. And just in that frame, it really shakes up your brain and your neural pathways. And so I was bringing that forward. But I guess I'm realizing how much I am talking about the nurturant parent God in both male and female. And so I'm repeating that in every message. So that is one of my values and one of the frames that I'm hitting hard at. And the equality value and the community value of caring about one another, those are my values that I'm highlighting in my messages.
Wonderful, thank you. Chuck, where would you like to lead off to?
Did you have anything to share?
No, I passed.
Okay. So I just wanted to, since everybody went to values, I wanted to remind everybody about, there's a section in our framing guide, the framing guide that's entitled Words to Use to Frame Our Solution, and it's on page 9, and I'll just share it briefly so you can see what it looks like, see that section. But values to use every day, and the challenge here, if we're going to build a progressive narrative, with that's value based, it's got to be, we've got to help progressives learn their values, and it looked like, as I listened to everybody, that that first set of three, empathy and accountability, empathy, responsibility, strength, was what most everybody focused in on, although Greg started with trust. And I like what, if you visit these 5 sets of 3 value words very often and try to use them, you'll begin to get the feel that those 3 sets of words quite often will go with, complete a thought, can help you complete a narrative, can help you complete a story, So for example, Greg started with trust, and and you build that trust or that brand through honest, consistent, repetitive, open-ended communication, So you've got those 3: trust, honesty, and open communication. So I don't know if anybody is visiting that particular page, but I would encourage you to, as you're writing, especially as you're wrestling with, okay, what do I want to say? Is there a set of words here that would help you do that?
I'm using my flashcards for that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, do you have them handy?
I have them right here.
Okay, so anybody else have flashcards?
In the other, yeah.
That's a great idea.
I can, I think our printer can get you some of these flashcards. At one time we had a set of them, and we were talking about them. Here, let us send you some flashcards, but if you want a set, send me an email. I'll try to get you a set. Yeah, they're not cheap, by the way. But I can let you know what that's about.
I found mine, and I've kept them right in my desk drawer ever since, so that I can flip through them while I'm writing. So
I think I also have them on a PDF that I could send them to you, and you could print them out and cut your own cards. So
yeah.
let me know how you want them.
Well, I think everybody did very well today. And, Greg, I really, I liked your way of putting things. And of course, Chuck is like the king of writing stuff.
Greg, have you mentioned a couple of weeks ago that you were thinking about running for office? Is that gelling?
Yes. So first of all, I wanted to be able to articulate my values first. And then I wanted to be able to take those value words and apply them to issues that I think are important. That way I have a platform that I can speak to. So that's what I'm formulating right now. So those are the things that I value the most: the trust, the accountability, and geez, I can't remember what what the other one was I mentioned. The empathy, yes. Empathy, so trust, empathy, and accountability are things that the 3 things that I value the most, and I think that I can apply them to all of the words that we should be using to frame, the conversation.
So I would also encourage you to. So you've got a copy of this, right?
I have an electronic copy, not a physical copy.
So I need to send you one. So there's a section in the both electronic and physical. It's on page 72.
Okay.
And there's a little web address, and that web address will take you to a 2-page, and it's a bit.ly link, by the way, bit.ly/, and then it's the word circle with alternating upper and lower case, and it starts with a lowercase c.
Okay.
So a lowercase c, capital I, lowercase r, and I'm sorry, uppercase c, start and then alternate. And but it takes you to a 2-page PDF that was it's a concept paper put out by the UN Economic and Social Council, and it's got 5 questions at the end on how to begin to reframe the words and ideas of a sustainable economy, which is killing us, to a caring circular economy, which doesn't kill us. And there are 5 questions at the end of that concept paper that might help you get your head around things.
Is it 2 pages?
2 pages. And
actually 6 questions.
6 questions. Okay, 6 questions. Yeah. And the reason I mention that is because city council and county commissioners are quite often, they're always talking about, how we're going to juice up the local economy. How are we going to, get more jobs, et cetera, and so, and typically progressives tend to have, we're strong from an ethical business point of view, but we're not perceived as strong. And quite often we're not perceived as strong from an ethical business point of view because we don't frame our values around both a caring society and a caring economy. And so as you go forward, the challenge I think for you, is how do we do that?
Yeah.
What difference does empathy make to business? Accountability, et cetera. And why is it city council's business about what values business has? Why is that a concern? Being able to answer those
relates to the Commonwealth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Chuck, I just had kind of a brainstorm. It's kind of on topic, off topic, but have you ever heard of Penzeys Spices?
Yeah, we have one on Chagrin in Woodmere.
And we have one down here in White Oak, and you can order online, but they are very, very progressive, very outspoken.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, on Facebook, a lot of times if someone throws something out, I'm like, why are you posting all these liberal views? And they'll come right back at them and say, then don't buy from us. We don't care. This is who we are. I mean, seriously.
Amen.
Yeah.
I need to look them up. Yeah.
If you order from them, there's always something tucked in the box, whether it's, I probably got some in the doors, like there are pins that say kindness, or it's Black Lives Matter, or there's always some little something tucked in the box.
Right.
Maybe they would like to put a human rights pocketbook in some boxes.
Wow.
I don't know.
Why don't you reach out to them? Can you?
I can try. I mean, I don't know that I'm the best spokesperson for that. But
I think you are, because you love them and you know them.
I don't know them personally. I just order from them a lot.
You love the spices though.
But they are very much an advocate of this type of thing. And it
Nice.
would be a good one. I don't know if anyone beside Greg and I are familiar with them or not, but
How do you spell that?
PENZ. Well, let me get a bottle here.
I have to look it up, yeah, because
Okay.
it's kind of weird.
Well, it's
PENZEY. It's probably going to be backwards for you, but PENZEYS.
okay. Okay, cool. That's nice.
And spices, Penzeys spices, huh?
Yes.
These spices.
And even if they're
I wonder if they're Quaker, Miriam,
Yeah.
for the Quaker values, the spices.
We call them our spices because it's simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and service. Those are our core values and testimony.
Yeah.
What just kind of hit me as you were talking about it is that they would be someone I could see them having a month where, hey, you order spices, we're going to give you a human rights pocketbook. That's the kind of thing they do. They tuck little gifts inside your spices when you order them. So,
That would be awesome. Why don't you reach out to them, and that can be your claim to fame. You're the human rights lady for Penzeys Spices.
They don't need me. They already have a. But there's someone that we all need to. We all need to support them with our
Emulate, yes. Support and emulate. That's right.
Or
Well, Anna, I'm pulling up our.
Yeah, I was just checking I'm sorry. I was just checking the time. I see we're almost to 3 o'clock. So you want to pull up our finish?
I have a little announcement.
oh, yeah.
Sure.
I won't be joining you next week because I'll be in recovery from hip replacement surgery.
Oh, shucks.
Oh,
Look,
oh,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
oh.
That's a lot.
Don't feel
Yes.
sad because I am looking forward to it. I'm so
Yeah, I bet.
the pain in my hip. So
Good for you, Miriam.
Yep.
Yep.
Good luck to your recovery.
hooray! I'm getting
Yeah.
Here's to a speedy recovery.
Yes.
thank you
Right.
very much.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness.
positive thoughts.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have lots of prosthetic equipment you can borrow. I have 4 walkers and rolling carts, and that I'll be glad to share with you.
All right, I'm a caring
It's a
citizen.
horrible thing because
I
and I
Occupy
don't.
empathy.
I
I hear highly
resolved
resolved that this nation,
under God shall have a
new birth of freedom,
and the government of the
people, by the people, for the people,
shall
shall
not perish from the earth. I am a person with human rights. I care for my own safety, happiness, and that of others. I am a solution to expand life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And for the support of this declaration, joining caring citizens known and unknown, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much,